All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about indirect measurement. When we talk about indirect measurement, it's primarily used for when distance is needed that is very difficult to actually use tools to measure. So we're going to explore vast distances or very tall objects that are being measured. When calculating indirect measurement, we're going to set up and solve proportions of similar figures. So let's first try to calculate the missing side D in the given picture. So this is just for a little bit of practice here. These two figures are similar, and they're similar because if you remember back into your geometry, these two angles here are vertical angles. They are equal angles, and all you need is two angles of a triangle to be equal for the two triangles to be similar. So we can set up a proportion here. We're going to set up this 48 meters and the 60 meters in the same fraction. So 48 over 60 is equal to the missing measurement of D divided by 80 meters. So in order to figure this out, this is where you hear about the cross, multiply, and divide. But really all we need to do is we just got to get rid of this 80. So in order to do that, we just got to multiply both sides by 80, and that 80 goes away. So now I have 80 times 48 divided by 60, which is equal to 64 meters. That's indirect measurement, guys. Let's try a couple more examples, and then you should be able to tackle this one on your own. So in order to find the height of a cliff, you stand at the bottom of the cliff, you walk 60 feet from its base, and you place a mirror on the ground. Then you face the cliff and step back 5 feet so you can see the top of the cliff in the mirror. Assuming that your eyes are 6 feet above the ground, let's talk about how we can use this information to find the height of the cliff. Well, so we draw a picture, and if you notice, because of how the mirror is faced and allows us to see the top of this cliff here, well, the cliff is essentially a right angle based on how we're standing, based on how the cliff is being approximated. It has nothing to do with its exact height. We're trying to approximate, get a very close estimate to its height. So here, the right angle and then the angle of the mirror makes these two triangles similar. So we can figure out how tall this cliff is approximately. So we'll take 5 feet divided by 60 feet, because those are the two distances we walked, so they're related to each other. 5 divided by 60 is equal to 6 feet, which is how tall the eyes are off the ground, divided by JK, which is the height of the cliff. So here you're going to cross multiply, just like you've heard of before. 5 times JK is equal to 6 times 60. And then divide both sides by 5. And that gets you JK all by itself. And then tells you that the height of the cliff is about 72 feet. One last one. A city is planning an outdoor concert for an Independence Day celebration. To hold speakers and lights, a crew of technicians sets up a scaffold with 2 platforms by the stage. First platform is 8 feet 2 inches. It's important to note that 8 feet 2 inches is 98 inches. The first platform is 8 feet 2 inches off the ground. The second platform is 7 feet 6 inches above that first platform. So 7 feet 6 inches is 90 inches. So the height here is 188 inches all the way up. And then the shadow of the first platform stretches 6 feet 3 inches along the ground. 6 feet 3 inches is 75 inches. So first, how do we know that these shapes, these distances are similar? Well, we know that they're similar because they both create a right triangle, and because these lines here are parallel, we know that those two angles are equal. So we have two triangles with two angles that are equivalent. And so now we want to be able to find the length of the shadow from the second platform. Well, again, remember I told you that the entire thing was 188 inches. You can rewind to figure that out or to see that again. And the height of this first platform here was 98 inches. And then this first shadow is 75 inches. Well, so there's all the information I need. And then we're trying to find this distance here, this shadow, all the way from A to D. So we take the shorter distances, the distances associated with the platforms, with the small platform, 98 and 75 make a fraction. 75 over 98 is equal to the unknown distance divided by 188. Again, whenever the fraction with the missing number has the denominator that is known, all you do is multiply by the denominator. And you have x is equal to 188 times 75 divided by 98. And that gives you, we'll round to the nearest inch. This is 144 inches, which is 12 feet. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is indirect measurement.